Every day, hundreds of shop workers are attacked at work. 1 in 4 violent incidents involve a weapon. Over 600 co-op colleagues responded to the Home Office call for evidence. These are some of their stories.
As a store manager, I have been punched in the face, threatened with a dirty needle, and spat at more times than I can remember. Recently, a man threatened to bite my nose off. You become accustomed to it, think it's part of the job, but why should it be?
I've witnessed many horrific incidents. The worst was when a masked criminal fired a sawn-off shotgun because we couldn't open the safe. On another occasion, a colleague was struck with a medieval mace. It tore apart her cheek and she lost her sight in one eye.
I was called to a store where a colleague had been attacked with a broken bottle. I've never seen so much blood. The entire shop was covered. My colleague suffered lasting damage to his back and nerves. I think about it every day.
In my role, I support colleagues who have been left physically, mentally and emotionally scarred. People who've been injured with axes, needles, machetes. The impact lasts a lifetime.
They held me hostage. The safe was open, but they wanted more. They broke my nose and eye socket. I have nightmares still to this day, and I'm close to losing my family because I'm not the same person anymore.
Imagine what it's like for your loved ones to be a shell of their former selves, afraid of being in their own community, forever looking over their shoulder.
As a mum, I sit in fear waiting for my son to come home, worrying, hoping he's not been hurt. He works in a shop. How is that acceptable?
The number of assaults on shop workers has tripled in just 12 months. Enough is enough.
You'll agree what a powerful video we've just seen from the Co-operative group on the topic of violence against retail workers. Some real food for thought for us as we go into our next session. I'll be talking about violence against retail workers in my part of this session, but I just wanted to just flag up how we're going to do this piece. So we wanted an opportunity where we were able to talk about some of our campaigning work, some of the amazing work that we're able to do as a whole cooperative party, members, elected representatives, staff team, all working together in so many different areas of campaign. And we've picked out 3 today to focus upon. So we've got myself, I'll be talking about our work on violence against shop workers, as I say, and we've got Emma Hoddenott, our local government officer, will be following me, talking about work in relation to our food justice campaign. And equally, the third on this session will be James Butler, our campaigns officer. James will be talking in and around our Love It List It campaign. Love It List It, in and around making sure that we're doing as much as we can to save as many community assets as possible. But friends, that's what's to come. I'm going to guide us through a little bit about our work on violence against shop workers. I'll be looking for yourselves for your own questions and comments, and making sure that you've got an opportunity to get involved, ask me questions, and see whether we can together agree where we go with our work in this vital area. Look, as I say, we saw an incredibly powerful film of some of the stories which emerged from some of the horrendous incidents which happen in our stores up and down the country. Friends, if there were hundreds of colleagues of ours within the cooperative movement being abused and threatened and violence perpetrated against them every day, I can't imagine anyone who would stand aside, anyone who wouldn't show solidarity. It's such a huge aspect of where what life is like for our colleagues working in stores. It's an incredibly important part of our work. Just to give you some context to start with, I mean, we've been working in this area for a number of years, and I'll run through with who, how, and where we're up to with it. But just to give you a context of the explosion that we've seen before COVID, an Usdaw survey, our partner and member trade union Usdaw, found in 2018 that 6 out of 10 retail workers had experienced verbal abuse. 4 in 10 were threatened by a customer, and nearly 300 were assaulted a day. Now that is shocking statistics within itself. But friends, since COVID and during COVID, those incidents of assault grew to nearly 3,500 a day. 3,500 a day from Usdaws' work, a remarkable explosion of some of the worst cases of retail crime that there is, and incidents of abuse doubled as well during COVID. What we are looking at is a widespread problem. It's a widespread problem which doesn't get the attention that it deserves, quite frankly. We've been working, as I say, to try and bring some, with our partners clearly, to bring some profile to that, and I'll run through some of those matters later in my presentation. But I just want to give you sort of maybe why that explosion's happened. During COVID, some of those statistics that I refer to, point of sale and age restricted products has always been the key trigger for some of this violence, some of this crime, and it remains so. You know, the purchasing and selling of tobacco, alcohol, knives, and other matters. It's a point of high incident in this area, but since COVID and with new restrictions and social distancing, that is now overtaken that sort of trigger for violence and for the crime. So it's this increased pressure within our shops which has led us to this situation. What I'm going to try and do today is I'm going to talk to 4 or 5 questions. I'm going to try and run through the 4 or 5 questions about where we're up to and where our partners are up to in it. I'm going to talk about what the current situation is in terms of policymakers around the country. I'm going to talk about who we've been working with and how we've been working with them, what we've been doing on our own and what we've been doing with our partners. I'll run through about what you can do and also look to the future about where we take this work. There's a wide range of policymakers who have real influence in this area, and I'll run through sort of 2 or 3 places where we've been most active. The first being in Westminster, the Westminster government. We've been pressing with Usdaw and with the Co-op group and cooperative societies, independent societies such as Central England, Mid Counties, East of England and Scotland over the last 2-3 years on this topic in Westminster. We started work with now Sir David Hanson on the Offensive Weapons Bill. And through our work with Usdaw and David in the Offensive Weapons Bill, we won some concessions from the government. We won concessions in terms of the government's willingness to run a consultation on the topic of violence against shop workers. Now, that consultation ran, and we made sure that our voice and indeed the voice of our co-op colleagues was well heard through that consultation. We waited well over a year for the consultation to be responded to. Came out maybe 2-3 months ago of that order. The government pointed towards some positive initiatives in terms of better joined up working in the area of retail crime, but stopped short of talking about new legislation, didn't see the necessity for new legislation, a separate crime of violence against retail workers, indeed increased sentences as well. So it was a mixed bag. It wasn't what we were hoping for. It wasn't potentially taken as seriously as it could have been with some of the measures that others were calling for. But there is the National Retail Crime Steering Group as well, which the government pulls together. It's an important body of people who are looking at these issues, making sure they're working as closely as possible. We watch those agendas. We're making sure that that group meets and is active. I think that's a really important aspect, and we've seen some suggestion that we could see an increase in activity in that steering group as well. So that's our background in Westminster. We've got a government which is prepared to move to acknowledge the problem. I think increasingly so, but recently is stopped short of any new legislation. In Scotland, we have a fantastic private members bill vehicle in Daniel Johnson's bill. Daniel has been working on his bill, which has a couple of those legislative features that I've talked about before, in terms of a separate offence and sentencing in his private members bill. We've been working with Daniel and Usdor again, and our partners in the cooperative movement, Scott Mid and the Co-op group in particular, on this to make sure that there was great representation through Daniel's consultation on his bill. And we got the fantastic news very recently that the Scottish Government, and indeed all parties in Holyrood, will be supporting the legislation as it goes forward. So real opportunity in Holyrood. There's other actors, other policymakers, other influencers who have real say and real ability to help us in this area. Police and crime commissioners. We're very lucky now to have 25 Labour and cooperative police and crime commissioners ahead of the elections in 2021, ahead of 2020 as was. But it's an area of real importance for the Cooperative Party, working with our police and crime commissioners, both sitting but also candidates. Police and crime commissioners can make sure that violence against retail workers is well within their police and crime plans, for example. Some figures that we've seen suggest that the majority of police and crime commissioners still need to put this as a priority within that police and crime plan. Certainly, we've been working very closely with the sitting Labour and cooperative police and crime commissioners who've shown real leadership in this area, but also making it easier to work with retailers to make it easier to make sure that they're able to report the crime as well, making sure we've got a full understanding of where the true size and the true nature of this problem is. So there's some of the areas of public policy makers and where themselves are up to. But so who have we been working with? Is the next piece, and we've been working with our cooperative societies. I've already mentioned by name some of themselves, and the cooperative group has been actively campaigning in this area very incredibly vigorously with all different types of campaign, different types of ask. We've been really proud to work with all of our societies in this area. Usdor as well, as I say, a member trade union of the Cooperative Party. We've been working with themselves. But this campaign isn't just in terms of a stakeholder campaign like that. We've got our members involved. Members have been talking and making sure that they are part and parcel of our campaign. Our councillors, our PCCs, as mentioned, and both representatives in Scotland and Westminster as well. Now, we've been working quite closely in and around the same areas as the Association of Convenience Stores and the BRC as well. So there's a really wide range, a huge coalition, I think, coming together in and around trying to put this problem further up the priority list, but also making sure that where we can, taking the decisions to actually try and improve the situation. So what have we doing? What have we been doing ourselves and with some of the partners that I mentioned? What I would say is that our work in this area is, as you'll see, is multi-layered, but it also fits into a wider theme of our own work with our societies. You know, through COVID and through the horrendous situation that we've all faced, we were making sure that retail workers became key workers in the first instance, working with our parliamentary colleagues, Jim McMahon and others in the House, making sure that retail workers received that key worker status way back when, but also making sure that we recognise their work, feeding the nation through some of the most challenging periods of time that we've had. We had 10,000 people join with the Cooperative Party, 10,000 thank yous to really recognise, and we've been able to send that on to our societies, our cooperative societies, just to say that it's noticed. It comes from us that it's noticed the job that they've done. But looking into the work in terms of combating the horrendous violence a little further, I would start with the Daniel Johnson piece. I think this is a fantastic opportunity. We've been able to work with him in terms of the consultation and the campaign that he's led over the last good period of maybe over 2 years of that order. Now, where we've been able to get to there is making sure that Daniel has got the relationships and on the ground experiences from our members and also our colleagues as well within the cooperative movement. It's a piece of work which will ultimately is coming to its crescendo in some ways, in that we will now be watching and campaigning to see that bill pass through each and every stage of its passage through Holyrood. It's, as I say, gone through that first reading, and we'll be working with Daniel and many others in Scotland as it goes on. If in Slido, if you're able to put in link 1, colleagues, you'll be able to, friends watching on the stream will be able to have a little further look into where we're up to with that bill, and indeed how to get involved with Daniel's work in Scotland. The next one will be in terms of our police and crime commissioners. I mentioned how they can make a difference, but also we've got a second link which I'll put into Slido right now, which is /PCC 2020. Which talks about what we can campaign with our Police and Crime Commission candidates ahead of the next set of elections. You'll see a full hub within that link. It sort of takes you through to the way in which we can ensure that this issue gets into the police and crime plans as well. You'll see plenty of cooperative content with our cooperative candidates in those elections on that link. I hope you're able to see it now. Looking into our work with Alex Norris and many other Westminster MPs, we've been working to ensure that there is a private members bill. So you'll be able to see and go on the parliamentary website here and now to have a look at the Assaults on Retail Workers Offences Bill. It's now live. It's there. It's on the website. We continue to campaign for it. We continue to push for it. I'm sure you've heard an awful lot about Alex's work over the period of time, and I'm just going to ask a colleague to put in our third link so that you're able to start to follow Alex's work more closely or look into where it's up to. Alex has clearly campaigned with us to get the response from the Home Office consultation. He's brought his campaign into Boris Johnson in Prime Minister's questions at least twice. He's pressed Jacob Rees-Mogg, the Home Secretary, in recent months, making sure that they know full well that this issue is very much on the agenda, very much on the radar, and very much here to stay as well. That work will continue, no doubt, for many months to come. But we did see 23 major retail CEOs join Alex and back in his bill just 2 or 3 weeks ago. A real fantastic piece to see all of those retail CEOs joining together and supporting one cause. Some of the biggest names in UK retail, an amazing show of solidarity, and also a demonstration of the knowledge that does exist out there that this is a significant issue which needs further attention. I'm just going to ask colleagues to drop into Slido my next link, which is on councillors, because so much of our work it relates in local government, works with our councillors, works with our council candidates. There's a briefing and campaign pack for yourselves on the website, so hopefully that is going into the Slido right now. It's a good opportunity to have a look through that pack, have a look at what you can do working again with your PCC, but also your local community as well. So I'd encourage you to have a look through. Working, as I say, with the relevant trade union in this area, Usdaw, we've done many things together, many profile pieces. We've done all sorts of, as you would expect, campaign meetings, conference events, training, all of the things that you'd expect us to see, trying to make sure a real profile for the issue. But the one I would point you towards will be the fifth link going into Slido now for you. The fifth link is the petition. It's a new petition that Usdaw have launched. It's 100,000 signatures for within the government's own a petition scheme. It's on 68,000 signatures, and a remarkable achievement on behalf of Usdaw, a sign of real solidarity on this issue. But we need more. We need more. So take action in the Slido. Make sure one thing you do today is to sign that petition and try and push us up more towards that 100,000. So I've run through a little piece about the background to the issue, a little piece about where we're working, how we're working, and there's much more besides. Hopefully you're able to follow the links in the Slido and you're able to explore yourself as well. But I suppose I'd leave with some ideas, further ideas of what you can do yourselves and what I've been doing myself in this campaign. So we've talked about showing, getting involved in our regular calls to action. You'll see it in the Hive on the WhatsApp group. You'll see it in your emails from the Co-op Party as well. We've done a number of call to actions on violence against retail workers. That will be continued. Obviously, I'd encourage you strongly to get involved when you see them. But we have, and in the Slido, there's a number of links now, especially the councillor briefing one, and our 7th link. If you're able to put that in, colleagues, as well, it takes you to the main homepage for our work in this area. What you'll see there is links to share in your own WhatsApp groups and in your own email list as well. I'd really encourage you to use that resource and make sure you're doing your bit to raise the profile of this issue. Also, making sure that you're inviting ourselves and speakers from Usdaw to your CLPs, to your meetings and to your community events. We're only too willing to attend. Obviously, we're only too willing to get there and get the message across about why ourselves and many others take this issue so seriously. We're going to need cross-party support in Westminster. That's a fact. That's a fact of opposition. And what I'm starting to see is the Conservative members of Parliament taking up this issue. I would point, if you were in one of their areas, I'd point you towards the BRC pledge for Conservative. I'd push you to use that pledge, which is link 6 going into Slido right now. And link 6 should give you an indication about how to use that the British Retail Consortium pledge for Conservative members of Parliament. I'd say that would be a good one for yourselves. Be ready. We're going to be taking this work towards the government sentencing bill, which is currently in its white paper form. We'll be working in that area, trying to bring amendments, trying to make sure that this issue gets the sort of attention, but also it's a real opportunity for some of the things we've been talking about in terms of the fixes, whether that be parts of the fixes, parts of the solutions, whether that be it being a separate offence, or indeed something which attracts greater sentences as well, greater punishment as well. Look, there's a range of things that you've had through. There's a range of ways that you can get in touch, making sure that you're getting in touch with your PCCs as well. I'm just having a look into the WhatsApp and making sure that we've got opportunity to take any further questions. I can see here we've got some comments and questions from Martin here in terms of alcohol sales and the being that trigger point which I was talking about previously, which is in and around the sale of alcohol, the sale of age-restricted products being an issue at the point of sale, where is a real trigger for this type of violence. Absolutely, Martin. In terms of that moment, what you're talking about, and you asked there, what specifically is the party doing for those points of sale? Now, I think the thing that we would say in terms of that, Martin, is that we're asking our retail workers to enforce the laws that Westminster and other parliaments pass. Now, when we're in that situation, when we have a set of colleagues, a set of workers who are asked to enforce the laws of Westminster, of Holyrood and elsewhere, we would say that there's a responsibility on Westminster and on those legislatures to ensure that there's adequate protection for those workers. And I think that's a real key point in and around that trigger point, is that when they're enforcing the law, and that's why we believe that policymakers have a greater responsibility than currently is being shown in terms of their protection. So we've got, I'm just having a quick look down. How can we show our support to Alex in Westminster and Daniel Johnson in Scotland? Well, in terms of the Slido, what you should see, I think it was link 2, which should take you through, or the first link, which should take you through to Daniel Johnson's piece. You'll see plenty of opportunity to spread the message about Daniel's work there. If you go to the home page as well, the last link that we've put into Slido, put into the Q&A box, you will see that there is a basic call to action, share online, on WhatsApp, in terms of your emails as well. So I'd encourage you to take those two opportunities to support both Alex and Daniel. The last one is from David, and David Hanson. David, it's fantastic that you're able to join us, and thank you very much for all of the work that you've done over many years in this area. David's asking whether cooperative movement as a whole, can we produce a list of public responses from MPs to the campaign? Which ones haven't responded? Yeah, public pressure, David, and that opportunity to make sure we know where we're up to. I have started to see that the BRC is starting to publish that. I know that the Co-op group does as well. I've started also to work with other cooperative societies like Central England, making sure that we're following up when there's been a violent incident in their store within a particular constituency. So we are starting to generate that data that you asked for, David. I think it's a really good indicator as to where we're up to more generally. As I say, I think we are getting further cross-party support in Westminster. I've started to see it online. I think there's more we could do to sort of codify and systemize, where we're up to. If you look at some of the work, and you'll see it in our food justice work and other aspects, we're starting to be able to put that data together, put it on a map, give you that, able to put in your postcode and find out whether your MP or otherwise elected representative is supporting this work. I think that's a really strong suggestion that we take that away, David, and have a go at that. We've got, in terms of question there in the Q&A, in terms of making sure that we're getting our members to write to our MPs and asking them to support Alex's bill. Absolutely. It's something that we have done in the past and we'll continue to do. I think we've also seen cooperative societies such as the Co-op group working with colleagues as well, making sure colleagues are getting in touch with their local MPs and other societies as well. So it's a good way of making sure that our elected representatives, MPs in this sense, have got full grasp on some of the horrendous crimes that are being perpetrated around the country in this area. So that is what we've had coming through the Q&A. Hopefully it's given you a sense of the different types of way in which we're aiming to tackle this problem and why. I think for me, the scale of increase has been absolutely astronomical. It's been the scale of increase is just scary, truly scary. Take you back to those personal stories. Each one of those incidents, each one of those statistics is an individual's life which has been turned upside down by this horrendous crime. So I encourage yourselves, I encourage anyone you're connected to get involved in our work to make sure that we're better able to protect those who work in our shop. So thank you very much for today. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you on this vital topic. Part of our work, it will continue. But on that note, I'm going to bring in my colleague Emma Hoddenott. Emma is our local government officer, and Emma talking to us about food justice. Thank you.